Good evening and welcome to The Business Coach, a show in which you help entrepreneurs better their businesses. I'm now with Matthew Rohrs. I hope I'm getting it right.
You got it right.
I didn't. I was struggling to pronounce it. You're the CEO of Sinapis. So first of all, Karibu Kenya.
Asante sana.
Yeah, you've been here quite a while. And maybe let me just start the conversation from. I know Kenyans who are watching this, you're an American, and I know recently America went to the elections, and as Kenyans, we see most of us literally like had visas on Trump and Biden. I don't know how exactly was the situation in the States.
It's been a divided time. Probably what you're reading is pretty indicative of a lot of the emotional climate of the country. So I think in my lifetime, this is the most divided that it's felt. And we're hopeful that there's going to be a peaceful transition and that the foundational principles are going to hold through a time where people feel very strongly about different candidates. But for years, it's been almost 50-50 divided across the country. For me, as a follower of Christ, my hope is that allegiance to Him and His kingdom will help people to be calm and navigate those feelings that they have, the convictions that they have, and still pursue love, still pursue peace and unity.
And I hope it's going to be a successful transition. And as the whole world, we are going through a pandemic, and none of us is excused. From America, I know your numbers have been extremely high, same here to Kenya. I don't know how's the business climate in the States as right now, because I know for us, most of the business have had to shut down, entrepreneurs have had to, fire their employees or render people redundancy. How's the climate in the States?
It also has been challenging. It really depends on the type of business and the sector that you're in. So for those that have been able, as many people as possible are working from home, but especially anyone in retail, it's been exceedingly difficult. There's been significant job loss, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty with what may happen here. There's a sense right now that there may be a second wave, and as we're entering into the colder months in the States where people are indoors more often, there's a real concern that COVID may pick back up. So
hopefully.
There's a lot of uncertainty.
A lot of it. But anyway, let's speak about now certainty. You're here because of Sinapis.
Yes.
Yes. So for the viewers who are actually watching this for the first time, probably have heard about Sinapis for the first time, maybe you can just let us know what exactly is Sinapis and what do you guys deal with?
Yeah, so Sinapis is a community of entrepreneurs. We were founded in Nairobi in 2010. And what we do is serve people who have said either I want to launch a business or I'm already an entrepreneur, but I may have some gaps in my skills that I'd like to fill. But I have this goal of growing a profitable, scalable company, and we equip them, and then we create ongoing alumni communities. So it's support for entrepreneurs, relationships with people you can do business with, you can learn together, you can provide, or we can provide, in addition to the business content, emotional support and ongoing spiritual engagement as well.
Interesting. You know, a coincidence, I've actually been a trainer for Sinapis at one point in my life.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
And something quite interesting is that Sinapis, how exactly it is faith-based. What exactly informed that particular decision? And by faith-based, maybe to the viewers who are watching this, what does it imply in terms of the program?
Yeah, so from our founding, we have had convictions around a desire to live out our faith. So it's a Christian organization. And what we particularly believe is that God cares about the physical and the spiritual. It's an integrated understanding of what life's all about. So the organization began with an interest and a passion for poverty alleviation. And as our founders and as our staff today have looked at that, our conviction is the best way to alleviate poverty is to grow economies. So when you step back and you think about, well, who are the people that disproportionately grow economies? They're entrepreneurs. So we began with a focus on what if we could serve those who are entrepreneurs by choice, not by necessity, provide them with those core building blocks of what it means to be successful, but also that ongoing support in community to allow them to thrive over time as hopefully their businesses grow, their problems become more complex, and they need new services and new levels of support to continue to grow and succeed.
Interesting. And is there an existing criteria in terms for any person who wishes to, to join the particular program? Is there an existing criteria that one has to go through for them to be a part of it?
Well, so from a faith perspective, we try to be very open about our Christian roots and the fact that there's biblical integration in our training and in our ongoing alumni engagement. So for many people, that's one of the main reasons why they come. They say, I would love to understand more deeply and practically what is a kingdom business? What's it mean to take a really strong stand for integrity in my business and live my values at work? For others, they may be really unsure of what they think about faith, and that's absolutely okay. We welcome anyone from any background, any faith. The only real strict criteria with that is that we want to have a respectful, open, relational environment. In terms of business experience, we have programs that start with those that are at the idea stage. So you may have 1 or 2 or 5 ideas that you want to test in the market. You're welcome. That program is called Aspire. We also have our flagship program, the Entrepreneur Academy, which is designed for those that have launched. And you may not feel like you're all the way to the destination that you'd like to be in that business, but this is the core building blocks with MBA level content, but made hyper practical. So no exams, no papers. This is all about take what you learn in that cohort and apply it week to week in the business. So from that perspective, there's no faith screen, there's no particular business size that we serve. But we really want to work with those who want to scale companies to grow the economy and create and sustain jobs.
Interesting. The name Sinapis, I was going through your website, stands for mustard seed. What's the implication? What does that imply in what the purpose that Sinapis wants to achieve?
So in 3 different places in the Gospels, Jesus told this little story about the mustard seed. And he said, the kingdom is like a mustard seed, which is one of the smallest seeds in the garden, but it can grow to become this large plant. And then he says this very interesting thing, so that the birds can come and make nests in the branches. There's a lot of different ways to understand the parable, but one way we think is that when an entrepreneur with the seed of an idea does the hard work of growing that over time, and that becomes this business that grows, employees and other dependents in the community come and make nests. They find rest, they find dignity and employment and economic support. So we think it's a really beautiful picture of what entrepreneurs who are building faith-integrated businesses can do in a community.
Interesting. And over the years, because I know Sinapis started off in 2010, and one of the interesting things is that it was founded here in Kenya, but it has grown rapidly across different African countries, and also most interestingly to Brazil. Just take me through the growth stages, which countries are you guys in, and how has it been in terms of, what's it called? Nurturing a business, as in a business from Nairobi, Kenya, going global.
Yeah. Well, I love to share this with Kenyan friends. The epicenter of the Sinapis story is Nairobi, and then more broadly, Kenya. So when we were founded in 2010, there was a strong conviction that Nairobi was going to be a hotspot for entrepreneurship around the emerging market world. And that proved to be absolutely true, in fact, more than we even imagined. So as we began to grow and adapt and learn, and we had entrepreneurs helping us refine what we do, we began to see opportunities beyond Nairobi and other cities in Kenya. And then we began to expand organically into markets like Uganda and Rwanda. So we're directly managing programs there with our teams. But back in 2017, we started to get interest from other markets where leaders who were from those countries were saying, we'd really like to walk this road of training and accelerating and equipping a community of entrepreneurs. So our first international expansion was in Accra, Ghana. And then about 6 months later, a relationship opened up with the group that you mentioned in Sao Paulo, Brazil, called Bluefields Development. So from that time now, we're operating in 9 countries around the world. So again, to my Kenyan friends, I like to brag all the time that what you've done and what we've learned is being applied all over the world. I mean, even more, we have 16 or 17 other areas of interest from different leaders around the world who are saying, we've heard about what's happening in Kenya. We'd like to learn and potentially apply this in our market.
Interesting. I know Sinapis is a not-for-profit organization, but primarily you're working with different entrepreneurs, and maybe I can just try to pick from you the lessons that you've learned in terms of scaling up from just one particular location to now expanding globally. What are some of the lessons and the insights you've gotten from this particular expansion all through?
There's a couple things I would share. One is that the DNA of what you're trying to achieve needs to be clear. So from the beginning, when you think about things like vision and mission, what is the DNA of what you're trying to build? And I think Sinapis, I'm not one of the founders, so I came in 2016, transitioned into the CEO role in 2017, but they did a fantastic job from the very beginning of saying, what is the heart of what the organization's about? And so as you're looking at the potential to expand or replicate a model, it's easy to lose sight of that. You can become enamored with growth, and that can be growth at any cost. Another principle that a good friend of mine who has had tremendous business success talks about a lot is nail it before you scale it.
True.
So we spent our first 6 or 7 years just in Nairobi. And Nairobi's a huge city with tremendous opportunity and amazing entrepreneurs. And our commitment there was, let's make sure we're seeing the kind of impact and the kind of engagement with the people we serve here, even before we start thinking about Mombasa or Kisumu or Eldoret or some of these other places around the world. So those are a couple of things that I think we've tried to apply. We haven't done it perfectly, of course, but those have been some principles that have been guiding. How do we take this vision and grow it in a way that we don't get too far out in front of ourselves and we still maintain the impact we want to achieve?
We'll be taking a short commercial break, but to catch up with the Sinapis business competition, you can go to a YouTube channel on KTN Home, get to know which two entrepreneurs managed to walk away with the grand prize of 1 million Kenya shillings each. So don't touch that dial. I'll see you after the break.
So welcome back to the show. Before the break, I was having a conversation with Matthew Rohrs, who's the CEO of Sinapis. And the whole conversation was all around how, as Sinapis, they're helping entrepreneurs around in Africa, across different countries in Africa, and right now globally, to scale and to grow. So, Matthew, I wanted just to ask you a question that lingers to many Kenyans' minds and maybe African minds. And there was this particular statistic that was put out sometime last year, whereby it was showing that a lot of startups in Kenya are founded by expatriates or persons from the West, and a lot of investment that was coming in, it was to the West. I don't know, in your experience, what do you think this is so? What exactly are maybe entrepreneurs from the West seeing in Kenya that we as Kenyans are not seeing?
I think we would agree. We've seen similar dynamics. And actually, one of our convictions going back to our founding was we wanted to work with the men and women that we believe God has strategically placed from inside the country. And if we can be a servant to their business success and progress, that's the mission of Sinapis. So we recognize there is a pattern, especially when you look at direct foreign investment or impact investors, where I think sometimes it's a familiarity or it's a similarity in systems or language or other things that does lead to expatriate-led firms being funded, maybe at a disproportionate level. Yeah. One of the things, though, that we've seen, and again, I love bragging about the amazing people we get to serve, is that we've got over 1,000 graduates of programs since we began training in 2011. Yeah. And those 1,000 graduates of programs have generated almost $27 million in capital. So as they're being equipped to become investor ready, it's obvious evidence that the capability is there, that there is capital available in the market. And an exciting thing is increasingly there's going to be more capital coming in from outside. So I don't have a timetable for it, but I think we will see that dynamic change. And we believe that's going to be catalytic for the growth of the country.
Interesting. And you've operated from both sides, from the States, whereby primarily I can say they're in their maturity in terms of how business are being run, and you've also lived in Nairobi for quite a while, and you've worked with the entrepreneurs locally here. I don't know, in your perspective, how do you differentiate both worlds?
I think fundamentally business is business. So if we're looking at the similarities, I would start with, to be successful as an entrepreneur, you need to have a differentiated idea. You need to understand, are there customer segments that are looking for what I'm providing, who are going to be profitable for me, who are going to be sustainable for the organization? So probably the number one reason why entrepreneurs fail is they fall in love with their idea, or maybe they have a skill and they say, it's just got to be this, or sometimes we see this, they're copying a business model. Instead of really going and testing, do I have customers who desire this and are going to pay? So that's true in the West, it's true in East Africa. Other essentials of just good financial management, good governance. Do I have a team? Are my mission and vision clear? All of those things, kind of the building blocks of business, which again is what we seek to provide with that core training element that we offer entrepreneurs. Those things I think are similar. In terms of some things in the West that I think might be a little bit easier, I think access to capital generally is easier, especially for businesses that are earlier in their journey. Information is generally more available. So if you've got a particular sector that you're looking at, you can typically get good hard data on competition, growth trends, other opportunities. I think both of those things are also improving. So I think the future is bright for Kenya in those areas. But on the positive side, from a growth perspective, the growth rates in Kenya, I think, will significantly exceed the West. And the opportunity for innovation and taking those great ideas and really growing and having a significant impact in the market, I think it's more attractive here.
Interesting. And maybe another, the pitch, whereby different entrepreneurs are actually coming together for an opportunity for two of them to win $1 million Kenya shillings. You seated, listening to all those particular businesses. What is it that you look for in terms of getting the edge over the other businesses when they're coming to pitch? What do you usually look for?
There's a variety of things that the judges are going to be looking for and that we look for. You start with the founder and the team. Do you, as you hear that story and as you look at that opportunity, see credibility in that founder's capability, in their story? What about the team that they put around them? That's one of the really key lessons of this, is that ultimately we all have strengths, we all have weaknesses. So thinking that we are called to be superhuman and do everything ourselves, it's just not reality. So looking at the strength of that team, and then going back to some of what I just mentioned, how attractive is the opportunity, the idea, the market? Is there real scalable potential? An investor in particular is going to be looking at that. What's the ROI potential if I was to invest in the company? Does the entrepreneur have a great grasp of their financials? And in the work that we do with entrepreneurs, that's usually the thing that, candidly, everyone likes the least, this language of business, accounting, and finance. But when you can master that, and especially you see this in Q&A, when those judges start to put a little bit of pressure on those entrepreneurs, when they can say, this is what my unit economics looks like, these are the projections of the company, here is how we're going to use this investment to grow. Those that can really do that well are typically the ones that stand apart.
Interesting. And you've alluded to this so many times that Africa is, holds a lot of potential, and the entrepreneurs here have probably, you can see, far-reaching opportunities as compared to the West, whereby the businesses probably are there in their maturity. Maybe from your observation, because you've dealt with tons of entrepreneurs here in Kenya, what do you think, is the right, for lack of a better word, concussion for success for business here in Kenya and maybe in Africa?
Sorry, that
concussion, primarily what I mean, the values primarily that it takes for one to succeed in this part of the world, maybe from your learnings from other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, I would start, so depending on where you are from a faith perspective, you might use the word calling, or someone else might just say, I want to grow and scale a company, and I'm willing to fail and try again. And that's the story of entrepreneurship around the world. So for those that say, this is either something God wants me to do, this is how I'm living out what He's placed on my life, or for those that just have that fire in the belly, that's an enormous element of success. And then I think really being relentless to find the right business model and really understand customer needs and scalability. It's easy to just do business. In fact, that's one of the things that we hear most commonly as we engage with entrepreneurs. And then you realize as you start to focus and then add the right skills and capability and ongoing support, that you can become very specific in the outworking of that company and in the ongoing iteration of that business model. And those that are willing to do that and pay the price to put the work in, they succeed. And I love, we brag all the time about the remarkable people we get to serve because they're doing that. And it's not linear, it's not easy, but they've got the right mix and the right skills, and they've determined, we're gonna do this. We're gonna make this work, come what may.
Interesting. And the competition that Sinapis is holding, it's a huge opportunity, mostly for the entrepreneurs in this part of the world, because it's, besides the knowledge that they get through the, through the curriculum, which is very absolute, we've said, Harvard MBA. Right. It's very good because I have the opportunity of training in it. But maybe just to the viewers who are watching this, what's the process for, because I know the persons who are listed to pitch have been part of the process. What's the process for one applying to be part of this, and how can they go through that particular application to get to this particular process of maybe next year they stand in front of the judges?
Yeah, so the best way to find yourself on the stage is to engage with us in a training program. So I think I mentioned earlier, for the idea stage, we have a program called Aspire. It's a 9-week program that guides an entrepreneur who is looking is my idea something that could become a viable business? So engaging in that program, if you're at that place, is a great way to find yourself in this process. For those who've already launched, we have the Entrepreneur Academy, which provides MBA level content. It is rigorous, we are very honest about that, but working through that then gives you the opportunity to come and enter into the process of the business competition. And so you're submitting an application for that and then working with our team and ultimately a series of consultants to hone a pitch and to work on presenting that business in a way that could be really compelling to this list of investors and judges.
Interesting. And as we come to an end, maybe I can put you on the, on the other side to pitch to me, or maybe to pitch to our audiences. Why do people need to register for Sinapis? For a million shillings, imaginary.
Yeah, well, if you are an aspiring or an existing entrepreneur, and you've been saying, I am looking for a community of people like me. So you may come from a place of faith or curiosity about faith, but you want to grow a scalable company that's going to make a huge difference in the life of your family, in the life of employees, in the lives of those in your community. And you're looking for people who want to walk with you, help you, pray with you, and give you the practical, technical skills that you need to succeed. We'd love to serve you.
Interesting.
As we wrap up, make sure to catch up with the Sinapis business competition on our YouTube page, KTN Home. Remember to register for the Sinapis program by visiting their website, www.sinapis.org. Till next Monday, this has been the Business Coach, where we help entrepreneurs better their businesses.